Hello everyone, The Nerdy Steve here, and today I will be featuring a green-white standard enchantment deck. The list is in the description below. I'm going to be talking a little bit about the plan of the deck, and then we'll play a couple of games. So, let's go. This is a very familiar archetype for anyone who's been playing standard for even before rotation. And what we're doing is we are really leveraging the Generous Visitor, Kami of Transience, and Hallowed Haunting. These are things that trigger off of you casting enchantments. So Hallowed Haunting creates creatures, while Kami and Generous Visitor distribute +1/+1 counters among the creatures you have. And so that's kind of just what we're doing, right? It's all very honed in on, amassing a really wide and big board as quickly as you possibly can. And that's really it. There's nothing too complicated or too interesting or too bizarre about this deck. It's relatively self-explanatory. There's going to be complexity in, how you what you want to bring back with Restoration of Eiganjo for its second stage. How aggressive you want to be with the wedding announcements, and if you want to, make sure you draw cards or get the creature token, right? And Weaver of Harmony, copying a triggered ability from an enchantment source you control, like with Glorious Sunrise or Hallowed Haunting, you know, or even Borrow Time or Touch of the Spirit Realm, navigating the games to get into that position and knowing when to do that is also going to be relevant, right? So there's a lot of nuance in how you want to, do your turns and stack your triggers and prioritize different spells, but it all comes together to hopefully a big board of big enchantment creatures. So, with all that being said, let's go play a couple games and hopefully it works out. Okay, we have Generous Visitor, which we could. We didn't do that turn, but I think that's fine. We do on turn 2. And we really need a land for the Restoration of Eiganjo to, do work. There we go. So I think that's fine. So we can make Generous Visitor a big creature. And then we can find a Plains. We don't need to attack. And I think next turn we can discard the Weaver of Harmony and get it back with Restoration of Eiganjo. Oh, and then we also have Hallowed Haunting, which we kind of really like, I think. Hallowed Haunting is what we really wanted to draw, because it's gonna make... Now, each of our Touch of the Spirit Realms are just gonna be really fantastic. Let's not attack yet. But yeah, against this mono black deck, our opponent's gonna have a really hard time dealing with everything that we have going on here. And this deck, really relies on the power of Haunting, the power of Hallowed Haunting to just generate a really big board. That is also very consistently generated, right? Most of the cards in our deck now will create a lot of spirits, right? Oh, wow. So let's do this. Now, I'm a little interested. I'm gonna cast this Hallowed Haunting because I think it's cool. I don't know if it's necessarily right. Probably should have done it pre-combat so we could get the trigger from the Generous Visitor for 1 damage. But we also don't know what was going on here, and maybe it would have changed what we did. Potentially, our opponent did have interaction. But I just think it's also funny. We don't want to go down too low. Oh, she Aldred. Okay. So, we do lose some life here. And so now we want to... what I'm gonna do is copy with the Weaver of Harmony, copy the touch the Spirit Realm triggered ability, and that's gonna be enough for our opponent. So right now we're running into a little bit of a problem, and so this deck does not have Brushland. The Painland Brushland is not out in Dominaria United, so we do not have a very consistent green-white dual land. We have Overgrown Farmland, but we're missing, you know, another good dual land to help with the deck. So we're running Botanical Plaza, and it could be that maybe this deck isn't supposed to run Generous Visitor if we're running Botanical Plaza, or if we want to run Generous Visitor, we cut the Botanical Plaza so we can have a more like 2-for-2 plains into forests. So we don't run into the problem which we have been, which is our Generous Visitor is coming to play on turn 2 because we can't cast it on turn 1. And so that is just something that, you know, has happened and something to be aware of. Whether that is something, you know, we will need to change or would want to change, I don't know. But it's always really, really good to just, you know, be cognizant of stuff like that, right? And how, you know, when you deck build, certain things matter a lot more than other things, right? Because if our deck didn't have Generous Visitor, if we had no 1-drops, Botanical Plaza is a lot better because we are not running into that problem, right? So yeah, we're gonna run out the Hallowed Haunting, and hopefully this gives us enough creatures to eventually fight through Lily and what our opponent is doing. Though this Liliana of the Veil is gonna be potentially a little problematic for us. So I think I want to get rid of Borrowed Time. Our opponent discarded their own Lily. We will not block. Evolve Sleeper. So another mono black deck. I guess mono black is very, very popular right now. Alright, and now our opponent is tapped out. So ooh, maybe I can't. Let's just go. Let's put Lily down to 1. Right? Make our opponent block. I mean, of course, our opponent could plus Liliana to get rid of the card in our hand. Our opponent has no idea it's a land. But if we get one more enchantment, we can, whatever we cast, we can double. We can create a copy with Weaver of Harmony to get really, really big spirits. So right now we're not going to do anything. I think we just need to take it to hopefully build up a big enough board presence to overcome what's happening here. And we can if we draw an enchantment. That's not good. That's pretty decent, though. So, basic planes. And I think with the Restoration of Eiganjo, we can get back. I'm keeping cards in my hand because I want to make sure I can discard stuff. And I know we'll draw, you know, but I don't want to lose that way. So we can just double block here. We can still get a Spectral Companion back, which is really good. But this is a 4/4 now, and that's a little scary. We need to gain life, and we don't have a lot of ways to gain life. So let's get a Spectral Companion. Alright, Wedding Announcement's pretty decent, actually. Alright, opponent got a cut down. And now we are waiting. We just really need our opponent to not have a Sheoldred. Because then that puts us on a clock that we just can't beat. Or that, honestly. Now we're at 2. Not exactly sure how we can get back into this game. Our opponent attacks, we have to triple block. I don't even know if we have anything with lifelink in our deck. So this will be something we discover, everyone, together. Alright. We are at 1. And the problem here, right, is any other creature our opponent has that dies kills us. So we need our opponent to just have land, 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 land. Just only lands, literally nothing else. And maybe that's what's going on here. And then maybe we can possibly win. I guess stranger things have happened, right? Oh no, our opponent got a Tenacious Underdog? What a disaster, everyone. Because it dies. GG. We tried, that was close. Okay. So at least this time we don't have the problem with our Generous Visitor messing up our Botanical Plaza turn 1. Which is nice. And we do get the Jukai Naturalist on turn 2. Well, there's the Generous Visitor, a little late. That's fine. Let's do this. Oh, Jukai Naturalist is the way we could have gained life last turn, or last time too. So we did have something, and out to the Tenacious Underdog. Hold transfer, okay. Oh, and I guess Katilda as well. So, we just got a little unfortunate with our draws there. A Meat Hook for 2 does it, right? Yeah. And that's fine. Let's get a Plains. And now our creatures are big though, and beefy. We're all good in the neighborhood, right? Invoke Despair would be a little bad. What can that be? I guess that's kind of fine. Maybe? I don't know. Let's just make it as big as we possibly can, right? Or 9. Our opponent down to 10. And then, like, this needs to be killed right away. So maybe that's fine. Like, this is lethal. Ooh, Liliana, though. Each player discards a card.
We all have things we'd rather.
Not making me sacrifice something. Interesting. So this game... Yeah, GG. Oh, thank God. Oof. That was close. Alright. So we're keeping this hand. Though that is potentially questionable. Alright, hopefully wedding announcement. We can ride wedding announcement to victory. Because it looks like we're gonna have to. We really need double green mana, everyone. Do we think we can get there? The problem here also is I really want to be drawing cards with wedding announcement, but I don't think we're gonna be. Liliana?
Something suspicious is going on. And for once, it's not my fault. I've always hated.
Alright, do you know what? I will take that Hallowed Haunting. Also, I didn't even realize that Kami of the Transience is really good against Liliana, because for the discard, right, we can just sacrifice the Kami if it's on the battlefield, or discard the Kami.
Drop it.
Here, obviously, like, we need to, like, it's gonna take us time to get it back, but it is something to think about unless our opponent has Graveyard Trespasser, and then, you know, we can go cry. Alright, that kind of helps. Not a green source, though. But not the worst thing in the world to happen to us. Let's see, is our opponent just attacking with that? Our opponent attacks with both. Yeah, we can go to 10 here. That's fine. We don't need to stop that 3 damage by that much. Or I don't think so, anyway. We have to sadly discard Glorious Sunrise here. Because we're just so far away from casting it. Then next turn we can get a Weaver of Harmony on the battlefield by discarding it. Then bringing it back with the Restoration of Eiganjo. Our opponent will not have the opportunity to have Graveyard Trespassered it away. But there's a lot going on here that I am not in love with.
Drop it.
And depending on how things work out and happen, we could potentially get, like, a lot of enchantments on the battlefield. If we drew another forest, that would have been really good for us. I want to kill Liliana. That's really all I want to do. Our opponent could use the Tenacious Underdog on a 4/4 and a Glutton on a 4/4. Okay, that's, like, fine, though. Alright. I'm okay with that. Ideally, what happens here is our opponent attacks, and we get to block with the Graveyard Spirited Companion, and then we can bring it back with one of the reflections of Eiganjo, right? Because we really need to get a green source. I mean, we don't really need to because we only have one card in our hand now, so it's whatever, but I'd rather be able to play it than not. Alright. So I wonder if this means our opponent is going to cast another Graveyard Glutton after post-combat. It wouldn't surprise me if that's what happened. Tainted Adversary? Okay. Beautiful. So this is going to work out very well for us, I think. Or maybe not. Maybe that was a lie. Oh, no, this is fine, right? This is fine. What I should have done is, I thought I was going to bring back the Jukai Naturalist, but I didn't. So I should have just, discarded a Plains and kept the Naturalist in my hand. But we're still good. GG. Well, thank you for watching me play some green-white enchantments in Standard. This deck was definitely fun, but I think there were some problems with this version of the deck specifically. There's a lot of different ways to build green-white enchantments going around, right? And I think or this version specifically, we played Generous Visitor with Botanical Plaza, and I think if we're going to be a Generous Visitor one, we want to be more aggressive with, our spells and really go in on the Generous Visitor and Kami of Transience plan to be aggressive with our creatures. And so we want probably maybe less Glorious Sunrise or Hallowed Haunting and more things that cost, 1 or 2 mana. And that would mean we have to remove the Botanical Plaza from the deck because we need those 1-drops. Or I could have maybe focused on more control-y aspects of this deck and maybe put like more borrowed time or touch of the spirit realm instead of generous visitor, and maybe added another glorious sunrise or something there to help us get to that late game, right? So our Hallowed Haunting glorious sunrise can really feel more impactful. And so like those are probably, I kind of put in the middle, and it probably didn't work out as well if I chose to be more aggressive or more mid-rangey, if that makes sense. But maybe not. I don't know. You let me know. With all that being said, if you haven't already, like, comment, subscribe. Those are great ways to help support me and my channel. Twitch.tv/TheNerdySteve is where you can watch me play live. And yeah, I hope you have a wonderful morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are. And thank you so much for watching. Bye.